This is the Benefits Buzz Podcast, your weekly pulse on what's happening in the world of employee benefits. Brought to you by your friends at WEX, who believe in simplifying benefits for everyone. Now listen up and let's get buzzed. It's another episode of Benefits Buzz. This week we are talking about 8 things you should know about the flexible spending account, the FSA. It's going to be good one. This is part of our open enrollment series, Kelsey. We're having a good time. It's really kind of hitting the gritty with the nitty gritty with these different types of plans, and FSAs again as a very popular one and one that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, it's definitely a refresher to go back to the basics. Sometimes when you work in a company where you talk about insurance all the time and some of these benefits, you get in the weeds, and I love going back to the basics.
So. Yeah, no, it's good to do that. And sometimes you just think about these things once a year, right? Like when it's time to enroll and you're like, oh, I'll forget about it and worry about next year. But this is good refresher for us and hopefully for our listeners. And to talk about FSAs, we have Rita Wong. She's the president of Health E-commerce, which is the parent brand of FSAstore.com and HSAstore.com. Rita, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on and dive into FSAs a little bit. Well, let's just cut to the chase. Our first thing you should know is, hey, why would someone sign up for a medical FSA?
First of all, I think everyone has something either in their medicine cabinet or around the house that is FSA eligible that they don't know about. And these are a lot of dollars that you're spending that could be pre-tax. So one of the biggest benefits of FSAs is that these are pre-tax dollars that you can set aside for medical expenditures.
Yeah, there are enough taxes taken out of our paycheck. Let's save a little bit of that and put it towards the things that we're already spending money on anyway. I mean, all in favor.
Preach. Hand is raised. I love it.
Okay, so I think, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, but eligibility is always a really tough question, I think, for people to understand how they determine whether they are eligible for a plan or not. So when it comes to the FSA, how does someone determine if they are eligible to enroll?
So during the onboarding process of when you're signing up, or open enrollment process, when you're signing up for your insurance or your health plan, you have to look for something that's a regular PPO type plan. And if your employer offers it as you go through that open enrollment, they'll offer you at some point later on, say, do you want to sign up for an FSA? And you have to sign up for an FSA every year. You have to opt into it. Unlike insurance or your health plan, which if you don't do open enrollment again, you automatically get the same plan as the previous year. If you don't sign up for an FSA again, you don't have an opportunity throughout the rest of the year to put money in. So always make sure that you check the box during your open enrollment onboarding portal, whatever system you use.
Yeah, it's a small little thing to keep in mind when part of your health plan and making sure that things don't renew is your flexible spending account. One of the things that's interesting, and I think a bit confusing, surprise, surprise, when it comes to all things health and benefit coverage, is there's different kinds of flexible spending accounts, right? So to add a layer of complexity, I know there's a couple of different kinds. Could you walk through different kinds of FSAs and maybe kind of give a definition of each?
Sure. So the most common is probably the medical FSA, and that's what most people probably think about when they're talking about a FSA. And those are just pre-tax dollars that you can put aside for qualified medical expenses. And it's a wide range, right? So everything from co-pays all the way to contact lenses and everything in between. Then you have limited purpose FSAs, which can be used similar to medical, right? So it's pre-tax dollars put aside, but you can only use it for vision and dental expenses. And so the interesting part about this is that sometimes not all employers offer limited purpose FSAs. The third type is the post-deductible FSA or combination FSA. And that's where those are compatible with high deductible health plans. And it's similar to an FSA, but you have to meet the deductible in your high deductible health plan before you can use those funds to pay for qualified medical expenses. And so if I think my current deductible is $2,000, I would have to meet that medical deductible in my health insurance plan before I can spend through this combination FSA.
Yeah, I would say the most common types that we see are definitely the medical FSA and the limited FSA. You see a limited FSA often paired with an HSA. So you're putting money aside in your HSA and you could spend that limited FSA dollars on those vision and dental and preventative care expenses as well with the limited. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit complex sometimes when they're all called flexible spending account and there's so many different options, and not to throw another wrench in the mix, but also pay attention during open enrollment because you might be offered yet another kind of or FSA, which is dependent care FSA, which is not even medically related. It's for your dependents, child care, adult and elder care, that kind of thing. So just keep an eye out for that as well. But worth noting since we're talking about FSAs anyway. Okay, question number 4. What are the tax implications of a medical flexible spending account?
So there are good tax implications if you put money into FSA. These are pre-tax dollars, meaning your income is deducted by the amount that you contribute to your FSA. So your tax dollars or your tax liability, whatever the right word is, the amount of taxes that you pay will be less if you contribute to an FSA, whether it's the medical, the limited purpose, the combination, or even the dependent care. So all these types of sort of pre-tax dollars will reduce your taxable income.
Yeah, it's good. We love hearing about pre-tax and those types of things, and any chance that we can save money on things we're already buying, which I think was a big part of. You gave that example. If you looked in your medicine cabinet, look at the things in there, or anywhere probably, right? That in your restroom or bathroom, whatever, those things could be tax deductible and are part of FSA eligible. And so let's make sure you use that. And that's kind of my next question on here is, besides my medicine cabinet and what's in there, what else might be eligible for FSA funds?
I think most people think about copays as what's eligible, but there are a lot of other expenses. So procedures like surgery and LASIK, glasses, contacts, prescription drugs, and then products. There are thousands of everyday products that are eligible. For me personally, it's the sunscreen, it's the heating pads, the kinesiology tape when I go hiking, because as you get older, nothing works as well. So there are a lot of products that are eligible. And then with over the past 18 months, there have been whole new categories added. So part of the CARES Act last year, um, feminine care products became FSA eligible for the first time ever. And they also removed the prescription requirement for OTC medicine. So previously, if you wanted to buy acetaminophen, you would have to get a doctor's note in order to run it through your FSA, which makes absolutely no sense. It was complicated for no reason. But part of the CARES Act took away that prescription requirement. So now all of your OTC meds are eligible without a doctor's note, which is the way it always should have been.
Absolutely. I mean, if you need a prescription for over-the-counter medications, I mean, that's just a pain. So I was happy to see that law change as well. Okay, let's move on to number 6. So number 6 is all about some of the idiosyncrasies when it comes to FSA. So things like a carryover or like the use it or lose it. So can you dig into a few of those details about the FSA?
So the most common, I guess, perception people have with FSAs is this deadline, or what a lot of people call use it or lose it. And that's where you have until a certain date, the end of the plan year, to use all the funds in the FSA account. And you'll see this a lot from employers where it says, you have a deadline coming up, don't forget to use your funds.
One of the things that I think is interesting to think about, and I appreciate you sharing some of that, the carryover from year to year, but maybe when we're talking about carryover, maybe we also talking about like, how much are we talking about here? Like, how much can we contribute to our medical FSA? Are there limits that the government puts on that, or can we just keep throwing dollars in?
So there are limits. The max is 2,750 for an individual. And if both you and your spouse contribute, then if I could do math in my head quickly, I believe that comes out to 5,500 if both spouses contribute to an FSA. What I did want to bring up, though, actually was flexibility that the certain recent regulations have allowed for FSAs in terms of that carryover concept. So with the CARES Act, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, excuse me, and the IRS, there is an option for employers to extend the deadline for plans from 2020 into 2021 and 2021 into 2022.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with an FSA is just understanding all of the aspects of it, because it is so customizable from employer to employer and organization to an organization. So like the grace period, read into the open enrollment material, see if there's a grace period offered. Carryover, look into your open enrollment material, see if there's a carryover. How much can you carry over? And then absolutely make sure that you're looking at when that final filing date is, and when the last date that you can actually incur these expenses. And just make sure that you're spending your money before you do that. And there's, like you said before, thousands of eligible expenses that you can spend those dollars on. So just make sure that you're thinking about that when you're electing the plan and contributing to it. So the last question that we have, and you already kind of touched on this a little bit, was claims. So you mentioned that you're not a big receipt gal, and I am not either. I'm terrible at keeping receipts, but the great thing about a lot of administrators is they actually have apps where you can just snap a picture of your receipt and you're done. So let's talk a little bit about the claim filing process and what that looks like with the FSA.
So you can use your FSA debit card to pay for expenses. And sometimes your administrator may ask you for a receipt. So if they do, then you have to submit a detailed receipt. It needs to include your name, a detailed list of either if you're going to doctor procedures, so that the administrator can make sure that you're using for eligible expenses, not for, say, teeth whitening if I go to the dentist. And the amount per itemized product and service. So that's where you'll save yourself the hassle if you just ask the doctor's office or wherever you go for that itemized or detailed receipt, so you have it on hand in case you get asked for it. Ultimately, you have to keep all the receipts, because if you don't, and your administrator asks you for it, you'll have to write a check back to the administrator. So it's always in your best interest. I hate to use a shoebox aspect, but like you said, the app allows you to just take a picture of it now. It might be easier just to keep a picture on your phone, so that if it ever comes up, you can just upload it to the app and then you're done.
Yeah, when in doubt, just take a photo of the receipt. I love it.
Come on, we all have our phones out taking photos of everything anyway.
That's the best advice there was. This is great. Rita, thank you so much. I think we talked all about medical FSAs in under 15 minutes, which is unheard of, which is great. A lot to cover, but you did it in an excellent way. And maybe if we have you come back on the show, you can pick up the guitar in the background and maybe strum us a little serenade or something. Maybe make an FSAstore.com song out of it if you haven't yet. So
we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, sure. For next one. I like that. Well, thank you so much, Rita. We appreciate you coming on the show. Take care.
Thank you.
WEX is in the business of simplifying benefits for everyone. Now, although we certainly hope our podcast sparks some aha moments, like that was pretty cool, but of course we cannot provide legal, investment, or financial advice. And, well, therefore, nothing shared in this podcast should be interpreted as such. We encourage you to seek out appropriate professional advice regarding your plans. Hey, congratulations! You made it through our disclaimer. Thanks for listening.